Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today as we finish up the seventh chapter of the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 7, verse 27. We'll look at that. This is somewhat, I guess you'd say, Solomon's summation, his conclusion to what he has just told his young son. In verse 27, he gives these very plain and blunt words. Her house is the way to hell, going down to the chambers of death. Very simple. Solomon says if you choose, again, specifically, he is addressing sexual immorality. But again, I think it's safe to apply this to a life of sin and ignoring the wisdom, the Word of God in general. He says it looks really good as we think about what he said in chapter 7. He says, it looks really good. They've painted the front door and swept off the porch and put out some flowers and made the front porch look really good. But when you open the door and walk in, he said, it is a way to hell. And it is a death chamber. And so that is his summary for his son, his summary for us of the end result, again, specifically of immorality, but as sin in general. And the lesson for us is to remember two things. Again, the danger, obviously, that he talks about, but also to never get to the point where we think that we are that this type temptation can't trap us. That we have somehow we have grown beyond that, and that's talking to all of us, whether we're preachers or deacons or whatever place we hold. No matter how long you've been a believer, you could have been a Christian since you were a teenager, for years and years now. But nothing. We should never come to the place where we forget this lesson that Solomon has given us. Remember what he said in verse 26: many strong men have been slain by her. And again, it is a dangerous, dangerous path we start on when, as we remember this story, how it began. It began with this young man basically hanging around the wrong crowd and going to the wrong neighborhood, walking around in front of this woman's house, eventually having a conversation with her before proceeding to go into the house. And there are, again, we all know of stories, we all know of situations where we have seen people fall into this trap. Just in the last few days, very well-known, notable minister, pastor has had to step aside. It can happen to any of us, and it is, as he says, a pathway to hell. We all have seen lives destroyed, marriages destroyed, families destroyed, careers destroyed. Again, particularly with sexual sin, but the same thing. We have seen people, we have all seen, read stories, seen people who lose very promising careers for shoplifting something very minor, something they could have easily afforded. It wasn't like they were starving to death and stole a loaf of bread. These were people who were found to be shoplifting things that many would consider luxuries or unnecessary items and had enough money in their pocket to pay for it. But if we're not careful, that temptation will lead us, as Solomon says, to the way of hell. And the moment we think that we are above that temptation, the moment that we think we have that we think we're above it, that is the very moment that Satan seems like he doubles his efforts, triples his efforts to cause us to bring more temptation into our life. And again, we have seen some great men of God, women of God. We have seen great, what we thought were very strong Christians, caught up in the trap of sexual temptation, but of other forms of temptation. Again, embezzlement and those kinds of things, and ruined everything. And if these men and women could be caught, then certainly the rest of us must put up a guard and pray that God would continually be filling us with the Spirit, strengthening us and preparing us, that we're able to avoid this trap, this way that Solomon describes, this road that leads to hell, this door to the death chamber that is temptation. You think about that today. What's your step? Pray for each other. Pray for strength for each other, that we'll continue to serve Him, follow Him, and avoid these traps of temptation. Have a good day. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.